Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bottoms Up podcast. I am your host, Taylor, and I am in my brand new setup. Oh my goodness. I feel like it's just so cute. I literally had this wall already set up at my last apartment, but it was not in a space where I could do a podcast episode with it as the background. And now that I have it, I'm very happy. I'm very thrilled. That's probably gonna be as exciting and positive and happy as this episode gets, because we're going to be getting into the weeds a little bit. Your girl is having some big feelings, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk through it. I want to try to be open and vulnerable about the things that I'm feeling. So yeah, we're going to get into it. But first, I do have a couple of really quick announcements. Also, I think this is episode 50. Yo, we made it to 50 episodes. Congratulations to me. And thank you for continuing to listen and watch and subscribe. And I'm also, look, I'm going to do the influencer thing not because I feel like I'm an influencer, but because I don't hype myself up enough. I don't ask enough for support. So please, if you're on YouTube, please like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, especially if you are a regular listener. Please subscribe. It helps boost me in the algorithm a little bit, and it makes my content look a little more legitimate. So I appreciate that. I think if you're on Spotify, you can actually leave comments on Spotify. I just learned that very recently. I don't know if you can thumbs up on Spotify. I know you can subscribe on Spotify. But that's all I know. And then I've never used Apple Podcasts and I've never used iHeartRadio. So I have no idea what's even going on over there. But yeah, YouTube and Spotify, please follow me. Please subscribe to my content. Okay. So with that out of the way, announcements. This Friday, Nami Flair she's back in town and she's doing a little burlesque class. She's teaching a class. I believe it is free. And I think it's in Miami Lakes. I'd have to double check. I just saw it today. She just sent a message to our group and I just posted it on my story today. So I will most likely be going to that. And then I will definitely be going to Flesh Friday this week because guess who is performing? Not me. Jen, my little Jen, my baby Jen, my sweet baby angel Jen is performing for the first time. And she sent me this little snippet of her performance because I was like, just send me a little bit. I don't want to see the whole thing. Okay. I want to be surprised. I want to be I want to feel it in the moment. I want to feel everything. So she sent me a little snippet and I got really, really excited. So I will be there. I'll be having a good time. I've already kind of got my outfit picked out because y'all know I love a good leather party. I love a good leather lesbian party, even though I keep calling it the kink party, but I'm going to have some respect and call it the leather party because that's actually what she's going for. So yeah, I'll definitely be there. And then on Sunday, there's going to be a walk on Miami Beach to help keep our rainbow sidewalks because I guess, again, Ron DeSantis wants to distract everybody from the fraud scandal, the possible money laundering scandal. So yeah, we now we have to, fight to save our sidewalks because he wants people to stop talking about the money that was funneled through his wife's fundraiser or her charity, her nonprofit, and then funneled into his campaign. I will not stop talking about it. Matter of fact, Ron, I hope you understand that I personally do not like you. I generally don't like politicians. Most don't really leave a good taste in my mouth. It's just, a general view of government that I have. But with Ron DeSantis, it is personal. I do not like you. I think you're awful. I think you're terrible. I think you're bad at your job, which is crazy because I don't even think you're underqualified. And yet you still manage to be incompetent, which is insane. That's a talent, I guess. That's a skill. And I'm certain factually that I actually care about this state a million times more than Ronald DeSantis ever has. But yeah, I cannot do that. I can't get into it. I really can't get into it, even though I just got into it. Yeah. Don't like that man. Never liked that man. Haven't liked him since day one. I gave him a chance too, but he just continues to disappoint me. But yeah, did I have any other announcements? I feel like I had one more announcement. Oh, yes. I'm going to be doing, I mentioned this like, I think in like the middle of season one, I want to do a dyke advice segment where like people send in questions and then I find someone to answer it because like I don't want to just answer them myself. Like I love being in everybody else's business, but like I really don't want to do that. I feel like I'm very like I'm a little bit stuck in my ways. I'm a Sagittarius. So I would like to do it with some guests. So I will set up a Google form and you can send in your questions and ask for advice. Please do not include any incriminating details nor include any identifying information. Like, because I'm not trying to be, look, I am not trying to be in between you and your statty when you guys end up fist fighting. So do not put me in that situation because I will hit both of you. I really do not care. The equal opportunity, all right? Anyways, let's do horoscopes and then we will get into it. I really have been like diligent about like checking my horoscope and like paying attention. And I feel like I have actually been like very in tune with myself. And even though like I'm definitely going to be talking about like some not so great feelings in this episode, just because it's been very like topical for me and it's been very persistent for me. And so I want to have a conversation about it and hopefully there's some space for other people to feel seen and represented in that. But like generally speaking, like I have made a lot of progress even just in this year with like the way that I take care of myself and the way that I handle myself and the way that I handle situations and, you know, help my nervous system. So I'm not, none of this is to like take away from that at all. If anything, this kind of feels like a little bit of a roadblock or potentially traffic, maybe even a speed bump, perhaps a roundabout. Perhaps a roundabout that I'm stuck in that I haven't figured out how to exit yet, you know, within that journey. And so I just wanted to share. Anyways, my horoscope says it's okay to feel lost and without direction. Wow. Your carefully laid plans are getting disrupted, but don't panic. Sometimes you have to lose your way before you can find a better one. Stop forcing decisions that aren't ready to be made. Do goof off. Vending machine, exhale. Don't identity theft, subplots, loose threads. All right. All right. That'll do it. That'll get us into it. Oh my god, it's also like it's very late. So apologies if this is a little bit dark on camera, but it's just been work has been just a lot, very stressful, lot to handle, a lot to take care of. So exhale. Have to do exhale. So I want to talk about shame. I want to talk about the shame that I feel around some very specific feelings. And I am very nervous to talk about this because of that shame that I feel. And like I said, I hope that this is a conversation or perhaps a confession that helps other people, that maybe makes other people feel a little bit less alone. But yeah, this is where we're at. It's been on my mind. It's been on my mind in a way that has been like a little bit of a concern for me because sometimes, you know, I understand that there are moments where we encounter like difficult emotions in life and then, you know, we get past them. I think, you know, that's a natural progression of things. At the same time, I do also feel like this has been so pervasive and this literally like this emotion, this very specific feeling that I'm going through actually happened to me last year, around, I think like May or June, like either like late May, like early June. And because of that, because it's now come back, that tells me that I didn't really address it the way that I should have, last year, the first time it was here. So this is me attempting to do that better, to take better care of myself, and to hopefully find some way through this and talk through it. And yeah, this will be very cathartic for me, hopefully. I hope it doesn't just cause more trauma. I hope it's something that actually makes me feel better, but we'll see. There's going to be 2 parts to this episode. The first part is this idea of shame and navigating shame. And the second part is going to be codependency, because for me, like, they definitely do, wrap into each other a little bit. But also, I've just really wanted to dig into codependency on this podcast. I know I've talked about it a little bit on like other episodes. But I think a lot of the conversations that I was hearing between Wilton Women's Week and Girls in Wonderland about how, like, oh my God, lesbians are so codependent and all that stuff. I'm like, I want to, let's squash that narrative. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So what am I feeling shame over? Oh my God, I want to take a little deep breath. I have always really struggled with embarrassment in my life. Like, I'm very, very scared of being embarrassed. I'm scared of being cringe. Like that, it's limited me. Like, it's genuinely limited me in life, and it has genuinely held me back from doing things. I have awful stage fright. It's taken a lot to even be able to do this podcast and to show up consistently and put myself out there. I'm stalling. I am a very jealous person. Always have been. It is one of those things that, similar to this fear of embarrassment, it's kind of been with me all my life. And it is a feeling and an emotion that, while I understand that it is normal and natural, I absolutely carry a lot of shame around it, and I carry a lot of embarrassment around it. Specifically, I compare myself to other people all the time. It has definitely, it has its benefits for sure. I think even with my social media, when I look at my numbers, I'm thinking about how that looks relative to other people, because if I want to go out and I want to get sponsorships, then that's something that I have to think about and to be aware of. But I do think that, like they say, comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely, 100%. Because at the end of the day, like, I should still be able to actually enjoy the content that I make. It shouldn't all be thinking about, just numbers. My value isn't in numbers. My value is in these kinds of conversations that people tell me that they actually enjoy hearing. Where I am really struggling with my jealousy right now is, you guessed it, dating. Woo. Yeah. Yeah. And it does feel like even embarrassing to talk about my dating experience and like my dating life so much, because I think I always get nervous that I sound desperate or that I sound like miserable. Like, I don't know. I think, and that's like, it's the shame that, again, I don't know why. Okay. But see, like, that's where the shame, comes into it, where it's like, I'm nervous to have certain conversations because I don't want to come off as an embarrassment. I'm nervous to have certain conversations because I don't want to embarrass myself. And so it's definitely like limited, like, the certain things that I want to talk about on this podcast. And like I said, if it hadn't been this very specific feeling of jealousy popping up now twice, in the past year, and especially the first time, I remember it being very pervasive, and I was like, when is this just going to go away? It felt so encompassing, and I really felt it in my chest. That tends to be like where I feel a lot of like my pain. And it did go away, and I was fine, and I figured, okay, maybe this was just, it happens. It is what it is. And then it came back this year, and it's now where I pushed through the shame and I talked to my therapist about it, because even there are times where I've felt so ashamed of something and so embarrassed by something that I won't even tell my therapist, even though like I pay that man to listen to me. Well, he's not a man, he's trans mask. I pay them to listen to me. And I think it's like that was one conversation in recent years that, I think having that conversation with him did actually change things for me, versus just having the conversation with friends, which again is why we, pay therapists for their expertise. So I have been feeling this jealousy around like seeing other people get into relationships, namely seeing my friends get into relationships, or my friends like getting attention, or my friends just like dating in general. And it's just where I kind of feel like I don't do a great job of dealing with this feeling is because I know, like, jealousy, most of the time it comes from the like an insecurity. I know that I'm insecure. Everybody has insecurities, but I almost feel like I almost feel like I've been too passive about it, that like I've been so passive about my insecurities that like I've just kind of accepted that I'm going to have insecurities and I'm going to be insecure about things. And I've almost like I've gone so far in accepting them as like a part of my life that I think I completely forgot that like I can actually give myself reassurance. Like I don't have to just accept that I'm insecure. And I think maybe that also like feeds into like why the jealousy can be very hard, or like a very difficult feeling for me to work through. There is so like, and it's like, I'm such a self-aware person that like, I can't even just experience feelings. Like I feel the feeling, and then I have additional thoughts and feelings about that feeling, which like is just, it's almost a little bit dumb. Like I wish, and it probably does have to do with the OCD, that like my thoughts are just like very constant. And sometimes I do wish that I could just like completely turn my brain off. But yeah, it's very loud up here. It's not as loud as it used to be, but it still is very loud. But yeah, I have like, it's like I start with the jealousy. I start with the jealousy, especially with my friends. And it's like I experience the jealousy, and then it's like shame immediately. And even when I was thinking about like how I would talk about this, when I was thinking about, recording this episode in my head, I was expecting that I would have a much stronger reaction to saying that I am jealous of my friends when they get into relationships or when they're dating people. And the fact that like I just said it, like, yeah. Like and it feels gross to say. It feels really gross. It feels very slimy. It feels very disgusting. I don't like it. It is one of my absolute least favorite traits of myself, that's even something that I've dealt with. And again, that feeling, it's been there. Like it's been there my whole life. I think there was just such a long gap in time where I had just started on medication, and where I was feeling really good, and I was really, reshaping my life and redoing a lot of things, and I was just feeling amazing. And then that feeling like popped up again last year, and I just said, oh, okay, it's just, it's just fleeting. It doesn't really matter. Like I didn't really think that hard about it. And now that it's come back, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's come back with the shame. It's come back so much harder with the shame. And, I'm someone where, 9 times out of 10, like when I see like people loving up on each other, I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I love love. Yeah, like I actually do enjoy seeing other people happy. Like I really do. I like that. And so when the feeling of jealousy comes in, it's like there's the jealousy, and then there's the shame. And then there's also almost like this feeling of loss where it's like, damn, I just want to celebrate this moment. Like I don't want to have to feel like it's some kind of like insane comparison in the back of my mind. Like I don't want to, like when my friend like tells me that they went on an amazing date, like I just want to sit there and like celebrate it with them and root for them and have a good time and enjoy myself. Like that's truly what I want. And so to have this like very subconscious feeling of insecurity and jealousy like creep up, and it's always so physical for me as well. I don't like that. I really genuinely do not like that. like I said, it makes me feel gross. It, it's so frustrating. It's really irritating, like, to be in that mindset and like in that moment. But the reason why I say, like, that I've been so passive about the insecurity is because I think oftentimes, like, when someone expresses this type of feeling of like, oh, like, I want to be in a relationship, and like, why is it happening for everybody else but not me? Why isn't anybody picking me? I think, like, that's kind of like the best way to express the insecurity, or to describe the insecurity. And so our natural inclination, I feel, is to say, oh, like, don't worry, like, it'll happen for you. Like, you just have to, like, give it time. Like, love will find you, like, when you're, like, when you least expect it or whatever. And I get why we're, conditioned to do that. I think that that's kind of been the support method that's been kind of like exemplified, like, to at least like my generation through the media that I consumed when I was younger. But it doesn't address the underlying insecurity. Like, if I am insecure, it does not matter if I am single or if I'm in a relationship, I'm still going to be insecure. Because again, as I've spoken about so many times, the self-assurance and the self-soothing, it has to come from within. The validation has to come from within. That external validation, like, if you're relying especially like on the external validation of a partner to know that you are, like, worthwhile, or even just the external validation of being in a relationship to feel like you're worth something, or to feel like your life is going in the right direction or whatever, that's not, because, like, girl, then when it ends, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So, like, I think, and again, I get why that's the initial inclination, and, like, I'm grateful for the people who do say that to me, like, don't get me wrong, but I really do think that instead of trying to just, like, be, like, reassuring per se, like, maybe, like, I think encouraging each other to look inward and really understand, like, where that insecurity is coming from is more important. And I think it's more beneficial in the long run. Because even when I spoke about my therapist to this, when I spoke to my therapist about this, he asked me, oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing. He asked me, like, what would you say to that part of you that feels jealous? And it took me a minute to answer, because, to be quite honest, I don't want to talk to that part of me that's jealous, or at least like prior to him asking that question, like, I didn't want to, because what I saw it, or I say saw, I still kind of see. Look, this conversation with my therapist was last week, all right? Like, I'm still working through it. I'm busy. I'm just a girl. I don't always have time to think very deeply about my feelings, okay? So, see, saw, whatever. We're all on the playground together. So, we're talking about this, and he asks me, what would you say to that part of yourself? And I realized that I don't want to talk to that part of myself, because I think, again, I kind of would automatically jump to like, why are you even thinking that? Like, I'd be very dismissive of the emotion, because I tell myself, like, I do think, like, very highly of myself. I think that I'm beautiful. I think that I'm very talented. I think that I have a lot going for me. I know that I bring a lot to the table. I'm very proud of, like, where I am and the things that I have worked through and the person that I've become. And so when the insecurity pops up, it feels very illogical to me. It feels like when the insecurity is like, oh, why haven't I been picked? Why does nobody want me? It's like, because I know that like logically isn't true, I kind of just like push that feeling down, because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I sat there after he asked me that question, and I thought about it, and then I answered, and I was just like, I want to tell that part of myself to shut the fuck up. And in the moment, it felt very funny. You know how, like, when you make your therapist laugh and you feel like you're winning at therapy? It was one of those moments. But even in the conversation, and even saying it back again now, I'm realizing, like, that is not the way to deal with that emotion at all. That is not the way to deal with an insecurity. First of all, that's just mean. Like, that's just rude. Why am I telling myself to shut the fuck up? Like, I don't deserve that. look at me. I don't deserve that. I shouldn't be talking to myself like that. And then again, it doesn't actually address like the fundamental problem. All I'm doing is pushing it down. And the thing is, if I had just continued to push this down, if I had continued to feel the shame and not tell my therapist, guarantee you next year, probably at the same time, like clockwork, I would have felt the same emotion. It would have been very pervasive, and it would have taken over my life for a couple of weeks like it has for both this year and last year. And I would just be in this cycle every single year of, okay, now here's the time of year where Taylor feels really shitty about herself and compares herself to all of her friends and can't enjoy her friendships or anything in life because of it. Why? Why would I subject myself to that kind of repetition? Why would I lock myself into that kind of horrendous thought pattern and horrendous emotional pattern? So we're breaking it. We're breaking that cycle. I'm breaking that cycle for myself because I deserve better and I deserve to feel good about myself. I shouldn't have to experience these emotions that, take over my life for X amount of time every single year. So I explained that I wanted to tell that part of myself to shut the fuck up because, again, it feels very illogical, the idea of like me feeling insecure, like in that one scenario, in the idea of like being single and seeing other people getting into relationships and feeling like I'm not being chosen or I'm not being picked. That is such an isolated insecurity. If anything, it's like it feels like the only area in my life where I don't feel secure, where like I feel great in so many in my friendships. I feel great in my career. It used to actually be really bad in my career as well. I used to be like, I would compare a lot. I even compared my last relationship between like the jobs that she was getting versus me, and I was just like, what am I doing wrong? So to know that it's like that's kind of like the one part is that it feels very at odds with like the other parts of my life where I feel very confident and I feel very sure of myself, where to be fair, if we want to make a one-to-one, where I feel like I've been chosen, but it's like it doesn't even feel like okay. Not the parts of my life where I feel like I've been chosen, but the parts of my life where like I have been chosen, if that makes sense. Because I don't feel like I've been chosen. I feel like it's simply something that I've worked towards. Like it doesn't feel like it's like someone kind of handpicked me like out of a crowd and was like, okay, you get this job and you get this salary and like you get this experience, that experience. Like those are things that I actually like have worked towards. And my therapist did ask me like, am I actively dating? Or like, am I trying to like get in a relationship? And it's like, yes and no. Like I said, I'm not on the apps. I know that that's not a good idea for me, but I've definitely avoided like things like speed dating. I've been like, like I don't want to do that. Even like, I think like I signed up for this show called Lesbian Land with the intention of like, okay, like we'll see what happens. But like, even when I pursue things like that, I'm very just kind of like, meh, like we'll see. Like, I don't really put a lot of energy, or maybe I just don't put the right energy into it. I don't know. It was a very difficult question to answer. Like I'll slide in some DMs like here and there. I'm very flirtatious, like as a person in general. But I think like I would say that I'm actively dating, but like I would still use it like very loosely. Like I'm like at the lower end of activity, I'm like, like zone 1 cardio of dating. Like that's where I'm at. I don't even know the cardio zones. I'm going to be so real. That's a guess there. But you get the idea. Y'all understand me, okay? Y'all understand what I mean. You get me. We are good. And so as we're kind of like working through this conversation, I did realize like, where the flaw was in this thinking that I'm just being irrational and being illogical, and I just need to bury this jealousy feeling down, and I just need to like beat those insecurities down and make them shut up, because that's just not the way. That's not the way to handle it. And so that is why I'm recording this episode, in being more open and trying to really like find where that's coming from. Because again, it feels so fleeting. It feels so random, that like, I don't really know. And I think generally as well, it's kind of happened within this time in my life where I am feeling slightly more insecure, but not necessarily like in that dating realm, just kind of like within myself. So obviously, I took my braids out, which is always an emotional roller coaster for me, just with going back to short hair and not feeling very feminine. But I've been like kind of playing around with some new hairstyles. So I like that. Like I feel like I've worked through that. I have also gained weight recently. And I know that I'm not fat. I'm not anywhere near fat. I'm not anywhere near overweight. When I say gained weight, I mean like I can just visibly see that I've maybe gained like 5 pounds, and I just don't like it. Um, it's not that I think that I look bad, but it's that I know that I look different. And that to me is like very unsettling. I don't like that. It makes me very uncomfortable. Um, and especially just with how much time like that I spend in the gym, I'm easily in there like 4 or 5 days a week, working out. I'm going for runs. And so it's like to see my, like to look at my body and feel like it's not a reflection of that is very unsettling. Like I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. And I have had a history of disordered eating, and my relationship with food is a lot better, but there's definitely like a ways to go there. So like navigating that on top of these other feelings, like, hasn't been great. And then I was talking with T. This was like a couple weeks ago. Last time I was in Orlando. Um, we're joking around as friends do, and she said to me, well, okay. So first, I said to her that she has terrible taste in women. We're friends. We're messing around with each other. We dig on each other. It's fine. And then she said to me, "No, you have terrible taste in women." And then she said that I like women who give me mixed signals and never fully commit or never fully show interest. And then she provided 2 examples and named 2 people who were actively doing that to me at the time. And I'm not saying that she was wrong, but like, you could have been nicer about it. Like, please. Like, you were just a little bit rude about it. I didn't like it, but it was honest, and it was true. Um, and again, like it makes me think about, like I said, like the kind of energy that I put in, where it's like I'm actively dating, but I'm not. I think I'm putting myself out there, but like just like the smallest amount possible out there. I'm entertaining, or like maybe like spending time on people who kind of like validate the attention that I want, but it never kind of goes like past that. And so like, yeah, like it did make me kind of like rethink, like, what situations am I putting myself in? I was even thinking like, I walk around with a Playboy necklace on, and I just like, what kind of message then like am I communicating to other people about, what I'm looking for or what I'm interested in or what I'm even going to put up with? So you're probably sitting here and you're wondering, hey, what does any of this have to do with codependency? And bear with me. All right, I'm making a segue. So yeah, one of the things that I've kind of noticed with medication is that it is much easier for me to kind of just shift my mindset about certain things. So, for example, y'all just literally heard me and saw me like work through that, just the feeling of jealousy and the insecurities, and kind of thinking about, new ways for me to address that with myself. So it's like that previously, like prior to medication, was not something that I would be able to do so quickly and so, thoroughly. Um, and so I actually noticed recently that I was falling back into that codependent cycle with someone. And there's 2 things to it. The first being that obviously I noticed a lot sooner than I would have, or that I have previously, that I was right in the middle of it. I was right in the thick of it. And I was like, no, we're not doing this again. I actually because I was thinking about I was already thinking about doing an episode on codependency again. And as I'm thinking through like the behaviors that like I engage in when I become codependent with someone, which is like the overfunctioner, underfunctioner, where I am the overfunctioner. I want to solve everybody's problems, and then I get frustrated when they either don't take my advice, but then I'm always this kind of like dumping ground for all of those emotions and all of those issues. I was thinking about that behavior and how I can describe it and explain it in like, terms that somebody else would understand who isn't in my head. And I realized that I was doing it with someone, and it was like a switch flipped. And it was late at night one night too. And we were talking, and I just like immediately stopped the conversation. I couldn't even I was like, my eyes opened quite literally, and I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning, and it was like I could feel my whole body was just so much less tense than it had been the day before, because that is the level of emotional energy that being in a codependent scenario with somebody takes out of me. It is physically and mentally draining. It consumes me. And again, it's not as bad or nearly as intense as it was prior to having a treatment plan that actually worked for me. But it still is there. I could still feel like my body like very physically react to not being in that scenario with someone. And like the second part of it, the second kind of like difference in mindset that I have kind of realized as I'm, navigating these types of feelings is that the signs, like the initial red flags that kind of like tell me like, hey, you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. Those initial signs look so much different now than they did previously. Previously, it would be like this very intense kind of like ramping up of things like very quickly, and I would fall into it very, 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 very quickly. So much into it that it's like, I think that that's just how my relationship looks with that person. And I think that we're just like really close, really fast, when that's actually not the case at all. It is just them saying a bunch of stuff to me and me being an emotional sink and thinking that I can handle all of it while never asking for it in return. And then it becomes an issue when I ask for it in return. Versus now, it's a lot more slow. It's almost like a slow burn. And I think like in the context of relationships and dating, because that is also something that I'm trying to really slow down my progress, my process with, that like I don't want to jump into something really intense with somebody very quickly. Now I'm realizing, okay, well, I also have to be aware that I might begin to engage in this type of codependent behavior as I kind of like let things progress at this much slower pace, So that's why I say it's like all of these things that, I think about when it comes to like my mental health, my mindset, my behaviors, my personality, my diagnoses, my treatment, they're all so intertwined into each other. Like I've only got one brain. And this bitch is fucked up. Good God. Like I can't be an organ donor. Like I can't donate my lungs because I have asthma. Can't donate my eyes because I'm nearsighted. Can't donate my liver because I'd be drinking. Can't donate the brain. I guess skin when I don't have hives. Yeah, maybe. Pancreas. Maybe I can donate my heart if all the panic attacks haven't destroyed it yet. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's all very much like intertwined into each other. And with that, like when I think through this idea of like when people say like, oh, lesbians are so codependent. I saw the movie Together. And I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. I'm not going to say that it was a bad movie. Okay, whatever Franco brother it is, he really tried his heart out. He did great. I will say though, I don't think that it is the best depiction of codependency. I think it showed more dependency than codependency, if that makes sense. I wasn't getting the co part. It didn't really feel like they were both feeding into each other. It more so felt like the boyfriend character was just very kind of like latched on to his partner and her life and just kind of like going along with things and had no sense of self like whatsoever. But that kind of personality can lend itself to becoming, codependent with somebody where they feel like they need to be with this other person who's potentially like very successful in order to feel like they have some worth to their own life. And so that's like why when we talk about, lesbian relationships and this idea of, oh, lesbians just U-Haul, they shack up with each other, they become codependent, lesbians are so codependent, women are so codependent. And it's like, okay, no, that is a misrepresentation of codependency, especially because if somebody, and I said this in an earlier episode, if you have a friend who claims to be your friend, but the minute that they get into a relationship, they just kind of stop talking about you or talking to you and they just disappear off the face of the earth, they were just a shitty friend. And to be quite honest, they were probably actually just using you as a stand-in for a partner rather than actually being your friend. And if you were to look back on your relationship with them, you'd probably start to notice that behavior. And so the thing about codependency as well is that it doesn't just exclusively show up in romantic relationships. Codependency actually was first observed in the relationship between drug addicts and their family members, like typically, the enabler. I don't love that word. I really don't like that word at all because, when I think about codependency as well, it's never anybody's fault. Nobody is wrong or bad for exhibiting codependent behaviors or in falling into these codependent patterns with other people. It is a coping mechanism. It's something that we develop, unfortunately, like through trauma, sometimes at a very young age, sometimes through traumatic events as adults. And it is something that takes time to learn and understand about yourself and get through. It quite literally took me going through a whole year and a half long codependent friendship and then another 2 years of just self-reflection and self-worth or self-work before I realized, oh, that's what that was. It took a lot of introspection and and realizing it has helped me break down a lot of other aspects of my personality and why I am the way that I am. But it takes time. It takes time. And even now, even though I'm in a much better place, yeah, there's still moments where I do fall into those behaviors, but I'm thank God I can recognize it a lot sooner now and break myself out of it. Because I think, in the same vein of I want to address my insecurities. I want to feel good about myself. I want to have good, healthy relationships, with my friends. I want to be there for them. I want to hype them up. I want to stand behind them. In that same vein, I also want to be able to develop normal relationships with people who I was perhaps engaging in that codependent behavior with. The goal is not to cut those people out of my life entirely. Because it takes two people or, multiple people to be co-dependent. It's not just my behavior. It's also how the other person reacts and responds to my behavior. Again, it feeds off of itself. And I want to have healthy relationships with people in my life overall. I don't need to cut somebody out of my life simply because that's the dynamic that I saw that was developing. If anything, I need to actually challenge myself to not feed into it. Because the thing is, again, if I behave in a certain way and then they respond to that and behave in a certain way, and then I respond to that and then they respond to that, if we keep up with the back and forth, obviously it's going to create that codependent cycle and it's going to eventually crash and burn. But if I stop responding in that way, if I stop myself and if I change my behavior, who knows? Who knows what it might look like for the other person? If I'm capable of change, so are they. If I'm capable of improvement and creating better habits for myself that keep myself safe and are healthier, so are they. So yeah, that's my rant on codependency. I will say it's kind of like I was talking about before, it is nice to be at a place with my mental health where I actually am able to adjust my mindset instead of just kind of kind of like falling back into, the pattern that feels the most comfortable, or that at least like kind of quells my emotions and takes away like those really intense emotions at the moment. That's just not something that I had before, pre-medication. It was impossible. And I know it definitely puts things into perspective, because I think I had like a lot of people around me who, when I was younger, and they're just like, oh, well, just think like this, just like say this to yourself. And I would do it. Oh my God. And I would try so earnestly, and it just wouldn't work. And I didn't understand why it wasn't working. And I didn't understand for 25 years of my life why it wasn't working. I could not figure it out. I thought that I was just broken. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought it was my problem. And there was something wrong with me. It was a clinical mental illness. And then once I got that addressed, cruising, all right? Doing fantastic. I will say, because like I've just been feeling very like overwhelmed with the feelings of jealousy, and even there was also like a little bit of shame that I felt in realizing that I'd fallen into like a codependent situation again. The initial reaction was definitely like shame, because I was like, oh, how could I do this again? But like, bitch, of course you're gonna do it again. It's what your brain is programmed to do. All right, just have to work through it and maybe not call myself a bitch. Whatever. So, oh my God, what was I even talking about? In feeling like the feelings of jealousy, like because they were so intense. Sometimes, especially like in the past, when I would feel something very intensely, I feel an emotion very intensely, crying was like kind of like my first go-to to be able to like just kind of let that initial like first wave of energy out, so that I could actually get to, the next step, and potentially, think through a process and self-soothe and blah, 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 and all that stuff. I can't cry anymore. Like I can, but I had to be like really, really, really upset, in order to cry. And like oh my God, I'm just realizing. So the girl who ghosted me like earlier this year, I did not cry over that. I have had other women just like waste my time. I didn't cry over that. Usually I would, like in the past, I would have cried over it. I cried over the girl that I messed things up with. I cried over that for like a while. I cried 3 times about leaving my studio apartment that I was in for the last 4 years and moving into this new place that is quite literally more than 3 times the size of where I had been living. So yeah, I have to be really upset to cry these days. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, I just want to let the emotions out. Like, I just want to do something. I swear I am very upset right now that I've been dealing with the jealousy, and I've been dealing with that shame. I'm so upset. I'm not even kidding. I'm not trying to like make a joke or be sarcastic. I am actually genuinely upset about it. I am just simply on a dose of medication that will not let me cry. So guess we're going to make a podcast episode about it. Like, I don't know. It's like, okay, next best thing. Next best thing. You know what? Maybe if men cried more, there wouldn't be so many podcasts. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's, so it's like, yeah, like medication and your treatment plan can always be this like very interesting double-edged sword where, like, yes, overall, like I feel, much better about my life. I feel so much more joyful. I feel like I am much more like in control, like in my day to day, and my brain is so much quieter, and there's not so much noise. And I absolutely, absolutely love that. I'm very grateful for that. I can't cry, but at the same time, I do feel like I have learned other coping mechanisms, and I've learned new ways to work through my emotions, in ways that, that are healthy for me and that actually, function for me. And I did want to kind of close this episode just by kind of talking about some of the things that I am doing better with emotionally, because I do think that'll help me feel better so that I'm not going through like this negative feedback loop with the jealousy thing. Because sometimes I've realized that when I experience like negative emotions, or what could be perceived as negative emotions here, like now, sometimes I feel like, oh my goodness, the medication's not working and I'm gonna have to go up on my dose, or I'm gonna have to switch to another medication. Like that's a genuine like fear of mine that it's just not gonna work someday. And it's like, yeah, I don't even know if scientifically that's possible. I'm not really sure, but that's just not like, I'm realizing like that's not a reasonable like way to react to, feeling bad. Feeling bad is a part of life. It's going to happen. And I just really need to be better about taking care of myself in those moments. I do think that in general, like I am nicer to myself, even though I did tell myself to shut the fuck up. And then I also called myself a bitch 5 minutes ago. But I am nicer to myself than I was before. Woo. I used to say that I suffered from dumb bitch disease and that it was terminal. So like we've improved. We have really improved. I think calling myself just a bitch instead of a dumb bitch is a step in the right direction. I mean, I'm honestly like really proud of the work that I've been able to do, just with like managing my anxious attachment, and finding security in my friendships. And then also even still like finding security within dating, in, challenging myself to not need the constant communication and the constant validation from, a potential partner in order to feel like I am worthy. I think I've been handling like rejection and disappointment a lot better as well. Not just in like not being fully consumed by it, but like still allowing myself like space to be sad and like space to grieve. And I think, that ties into just being nicer to myself and gentler with myself. It's also like, what a testament for my fucking therapist that like I just had that session last week and I'm already beginning to like, you know, actively work through those feelings and I can like talk about it. So yeah, everybody book with Yanlin. All right. He's cool. He's The thing is, I want to make something clear. My therapist is not a man, okay? My therapist is trans mask. I would never listen to a man. Absolutely not. This is like the closest that we're gonna get. But no, my therapist is really cool, and we love him. My little he they king. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Instagram at bottumsup.pod. That is bottumsup.pod. If you would like to be on an episode, if you would like to suggest a topic, or if you want to submit your question or life crisis to Dyke Advice, you can shoot me a DM or you can email me, bottumsuppod@gmail.com. I will be making a Google form for Dyke Advice, so just stay tuned for that. But it is late. I want to go to bed. I want to take care of myself. I want to build better habits for myself. So, with all that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And I will see you in the next episode.